Hi students, welcome to Bosco Campus Vision. I am Darshana. Hope all of you are fine. Let us continue the portions. Today we are going to study our second poem, Hope by Emily Dickinson. The title of the poem, Hope, it is a very familiar term to all of us. When we face some dark situations in our life, we experience such a feeling of hope inside our mind. That means hope for the best or hope for better days, hope to overcome those difficulties in our life, or hope to overcome the dark days, etc. I think this term is very relevant even now as all of us are facing some dark times in our life. Am I right? Yes. The whole world is affected by a deadly pandemic. Let us look into our poem, how our poet Emily Dickinson expresses those feeling of hope in this particular poem. Let us discuss something about our poet Emily Dickinson. What do you know about Emily Dickinson? Yes, her full name is Emily Elizabeth Dickinson, and her life period was from 1830 to 1886. She was born in Amherst, Massachusetts, to a patriarchal family having strong community ties. Yes, she was an American poet and she was born in a patriarchal family having strong community ties. After studying at the Amherst Academy for 7 years, she spent a short time at Mount Holyoke Female Seminary. After completing her studies at Amherst Academy, she spent a short time at a female seminary named Mount Holyoke. That is important for 1 mark question. She began writing poems during her 20s. That means she started her writing career even in her adulthood, and her poetic works became significantly noteworthy during her 30s. Her poems became popular during her 30s. Then she was a prolific poet who wrote about 1800 poems. That means prolific writer or prolific poet in the sense means she produced a good number of poems. She produced a large number of works. So she was a prolific private poet who wrote about 1800 poems. And many of her poems were left incomplete. That means she did not complete many of her poems. Then she made little effort to publish her poems during her lifetime. Yes, that means she did not take much effort to publish her poems during her life period. Many of her poems were published after her death, that is posthumous publications. Her first collection of poems was published posthumously in 1890. That year is significant for 1 mark question. Her first collection of poems was published posthumously, that means after her death in 1890. Then a complete scholarly edition, The Poems of Emily Dickinson, appeared in 1955 in 3 volumes. Then second one, The Letters of Emily Dickinson, was published by Harvard Press in 3 volumes in 1958. Students, please note these poetry collections. It is important for 1 mark questions. Moreover, she is an interesting and puzzling study both as a poet and as a person. Puzzling, the word puzzling means, normally the word means question that is difficult to answer. But here the usage means when we go through her poems, most of her poems are dealt with the theme death, then life after death, etc. Such concepts, that is like the concept of death or life after death, etc., were not easy for the normal readers to comprehend easily, or what she is trying to express through her poems. That's why we use such a word here, that is puzzling study. So she is an interesting and puzzling study both as a poet and as a person. Then look into the characteristic features of her poems. Her works bear the characteristics of various literary traditions such as Emerson and Transcendentalism. Emerson is an American writer, and Transcendentalist is a group of writers, group of American writers. It is a school of American philosophical thought, and this group of writers, they believed in optimism, individualism, equality, self-reliance, etc. And Emerson was one among the transcendentalist writers. And Emily was influenced by the writings of this Emerson and the transcendentalist writers. Then the hymns of New England churches. Hymns means religious songs that praise to God. So also we can trace the characteristics of the hymns of New England churches. Then the metaphysical poets in her wit and elliptical metaphors. Metaphysical poets. Who are the metaphysical poets? John Donne, Vaughan, Herbert, Richard Crashaw, etc. What are the characteristic features of this metaphysical poetry? Yes, that is wit and conceit, far-fetched images, etc. There is elliptical metaphors, etc. So we can trace the characteristic features of these metaphysical poets and their writings. That is the characteristic features of metaphysical poetry. Then the 20th century poets in her attention to detail. Yes, imagism, one of the prominent characteristics of 20th century, that is modern writers, that is the use of imagery in their poems. Then use of free verse, that is free expression. Then use of half rhymes and dissonant qualities. Use of half rhymes and dissonant qualities means that is something like a argument. Such type of characteristics. So in her works we can trace all these characteristics, that is characteristics of various literary traditions, that is the writings of Emerson and transcendentalist writers. Transcendentalist is a group of American writers, a philosophical school of American writers, and they believed in self-reliance rather than reason or facts, and they emphasized equality, optimism, etc. So she was influenced by the writings of these transcendentalist writers, and we can trace the characteristics of these transcendentalist writers in her poems. Then religious tone, that is the hymns of New England churches. Then characteristics of metaphysical poetry, that is we can trace that far-fetched images, conceit, wit, etc. in her poems. Then 20th century poets, that is the expression of free verse, then use of imagery, etc. Then use of half rhymes, and at last dissonant qualities, in the sense means sometimes argument in nature. So we can say that she belongs to no school and rises above the confines of a generation and finds her place in more durable and pervasive observation and response. Yes, she belongs to, that's why, because her works bear all the characteristic features of various literary traditions. So she belongs to no school and rises above, that is transcends above the generations, transcends above the ages, rises above the confines of a generation. She rises above the boundary of a fixed generation or age and finds her place in more durable and pervasive observation and response. She finds a definite place in her writings. She finds her place in more durable, and that means she fixed a definite place in American literature, and that was very lasting one. And pervasive in nature, that is her fame that was spreading all over the country. Then her observations, response, everything. So she belongs to no school and rises above the confines of a generation and finds her place in more durable and pervasive observation and response. Also, her poems were the deep expression of her observations and responses. Then, regarding our poem, the Hop. The poem Hop is an example of Dickinson's homiletic style. Homiletic style means it is like a moralizing lecture derived from psalms and religious hymns. That is, I already told you in the previous stanza that her works bear characteristic features of the hymns of New England Church. So, our poem Hop, it is an example of Dickinson's homiletic style as well as psalms and religious hymns. It is one of her early poems. She uses the standard dictionary format for defining hop. That I already told you in the introductory part. This hop is a very familiar term. We all are very familiar with this particular term hop, and she uses the standard dictionary format for defining this particular term. First, she places the word in a general category, and then she differentiates it from everything else. That is her method of expression in this particular poem. First, she placed this particular word in a general category. I already told you that we all are very familiar with this particular term, hop. Then she differentiates this term from everything else. Here the subject is hop, and the metaphor of the bird is used to define hop. Yes, here she used one figure of speech, that is metaphor. Metaphor of the bird is used to define the term hop. Here in this particular poem, whatever is being said of the bird here applies to the term hop. In this way, she differentiates the meaning of this particular term from everything else. Here, hop is the thing with the feathers. She used the metaphor of the bird to explain or express that feeling. In this particular poem, she describes that how in difficult times of her life heard a voice of hope inside her, which kept her going through life. Yes, we all have such feeling in our mind. Am I right? Yes. And here also, Emily Dickinson expresses her own feeling. That is what she felt when she was going through dark times in her life. That voice of hope inside, the expression of the voice of hope inside her. To some extent, we can say that this poem is an autobiographical in tone, because it is her own expression, that is Emily's own expression of feeling, that feeling of hope through this particular poem. Hope all of you understand about the introduction of this particular poem, that is about the poet Emily Dickinson and about our poem Hope. There is a homework for you, that is write a note on Emily Dickinson. Write your homework and send back to me. Hope all of you understand this session. Thank you. See you again. Have a nice day.